Hello everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Today, we're diving into a conflict that is often overshadowed by the First World War, but was absolutely crucial in shaping the map of modern Europe, the Polish-Soviet War. This wasn't just a border dispute, it was a clash of titans, a collision of ideologies, and a desperate struggle for national survival that would define Eastern Europe for decades to come. So, let's set the stage. The year is 1918. World War I has just ended. The great empires that had dominated Europe for centuries, the German, the Austro-Hungarian, and the Russian, are all in ruins. Out of this chaos, new nations are scrambling to be born, and old ones are re-emerging. Among them is Poland, a nation that had been wiped off the map for 123 years, partitioned between Russia, Prussia, and Austria. Now, it was back, and its leader, Joseph Pilsudski, had a grand vision. Pilsudski dreamed of creating a federation of independent states in Eastern Europe, called the Intermarium, stretching from the Baltic to the Black Sea. This federation would act as a powerful buffer, protecting its members from the imperial ambitions of both Germany to the west and, more immediately, Russia to the east. But this wasn't the old Tsarist Russia anymore. This was a new, revolutionary state. Soviet Russia, led by Vladimir Lenin and the Bolsheviks. Lenin had his own grand vision, one of a world revolution. He believed that the war-weary workers of Europe, especially in Germany, were on the brink of rising up and embracing communism. For Lenin, Poland wasn't just a neighboring country. It was a red bridge that the Red Army had to cross to carry the flame of revolution westward and link up with potential German communists. So, you have two powerful leaders with two completely incompatible expansionist visions. A conflict was almost inevitable. The initial fighting was sporadic. Beginning in early 1919, both sides were still getting organized. The Red Army was tied up in the Russian Civil War, fighting the anti-Bolshevik White forces. The newly formed Polish army was busy securing its other borders. But as the Russian Civil War began to turn in the Bolsheviks' favor by late 1919, Lenin could finally turn his full attention to his Western Front. The war truly escalated in April 1920. Pilsudski, hoping to preempt a Soviet invasion and realize his Intermarium dream, launched a major offensive into Ukraine. He allied with the Ukrainian leader Simon Petlura, promising to help establish an independent Ukraine. This was the Kyiv offensive. Initially, it was a stunning success. On May 7th, Polish and Ukrainian troops marched into Kyiv with very little resistance. It seemed like Pilsudski's gamble had paid off. But the victory was hollow. The local Ukrainian population was wary, and the Red Army wasn't defeated, just regrouping. The Soviets had a secret weapon, the 1st Cavalry Army, the legendary Knarmia, led by the brilliant but brutal Semyon Budyonny. This massive cavalry force, filled with fierce Cossack horsemen, was redeployed from the Caucasus and slammed into the Polish southern flank. The Polish lines, stretched thin all the way to Kyiv, shattered. What followed was a dramatic, full-scale retreat. The Red Army, under the overall command of Mikhail Tukhachevsky in the north, pushed relentlessly westward. Tukhachevsky famously told his troops, "Over the corpse of White Poland lies the path to world revolution." On to Vilnius, Minsk, Warsaw, the tide had turned completely. The Soviets surged through Ukraine and Belarus, and by early August 1920, they were at the gates of Warsaw itself. The situation looked catastrophic for Poland. The international community offered little help. The British proposed a border called the Curzon Line, which was very unfavorable to Poland, and when the Poles hesitated, Allied support dried up. Many in the West believed Warsaw would fall within days, and that Poland's brief, reborn independence was over. The Soviets were so confident of victory that they had already set up a puppet communist government, ready to take power in Warsaw, but Pilsudski and his commanders were not ready to give up. As the main Soviet force under Tukhachevsky prepared for a final assault on Warsaw from the east, Polish intelligence, with the help of brilliant cryptographers who had broken Soviet codes, made a critical discovery. They realized that Tukhachevsky's northern flank was dangerously exposed and that the Soviet southern armies, including Budyonny's cavalry, were stuck fighting around the city of Lww, far to the south, due to command rivalries and conflicting orders. This created a massive, unprotected gap in the Soviet lines. This was the moment Pilsudski had been waiting for. He devised an incredibly daring plan, a high-stakes gamble that would either save Poland or seal its doom. While a portion of the Polish army would hold the line and defend Warsaw's direct approaches, Pilsudski himself would personally lead a newly formed strike force of elite divisions. This force would pull out of the front line, march south, and then swing north, hitting the unsuspecting Soviet armies in their flank and rear. It was a maneuver that defied conventional military wisdom. He was weakening his own capital's defenses for a do-or-die counterattack. On August 16th, as the battle for Warsaw raged, Pilsudski launched his counter-offensive. The Polish strike force slammed into the surprised and disorganized Red Army divisions. The effect was immediate and devastating. The Soviet advance not only stopped, it completely fell apart. Their command and communication structures collapsed. Entire armies dissolved. their soldiers either captured or fleeing in panic back to the east. The Battle of Warsaw, which would later be called the Miracle on the Vistula, was an astounding and decisive Polish victory. It completely reversed the course of the war. The Poles went on the offensive, chasing the shattered Red Army eastward and securing major victories, like the Battle of the Niemen River. By October 1920, both sides were exhausted. Lenin's dream of a world revolution, carried on the bayonets of the Red Army, was dead. He realized he needed to consolidate his power in Russia and end the costly war. Pilsudski, for his part, knew that while he had won a great victory, he didn't have the resources to completely destroy Soviet Russia or fully realize his intermarium plan. Peace talks began, and in March 1921, the Treaty of Riga was signed. The treaty established the Polish-Soviet border far to the east of the original Curzon line, securing large territories for Poland, including parts of modern-day Belarus and Ukraine. This new border would last until 1939. The war's outcome was monumental. Poland's independence was secured for the next 2 decades. The westward spread of communism was halted, which arguably saved Weimar, Germany, and the rest of post-war Central Europe from a Bolshevik-style revolution. It was a pivotal moment that truly set the political landscape of the interwar period. The Polish-Soviet War is a dramatic story of national survival, ideological struggle, and military genius. It's a testament to how a nation, on the brink of total annihilation, can rally and achieve a victory against seemingly impossible odds. It reminds us that history is not always a predictable march of great powers, but is often shaped by courage, strategy, and the unyielding desire for freedom. Thank you so much for joining me on this deep dive into a crucial, yet often forgotten, chapter of history. If you found this interesting, please hit that like button, and consider subscribing for more stories from the past. Let us know in the comments what other historical events you'd like to see covered. Until next time, stay curious.